Hey there, Kaleidoscope Klan. Happy full moon in Taurus. Yes, we love Taurus, don't we? So today I want to do a little story time. Yes, just to give an example of how my life is a real movie. It surely is. So, just living in Mexico anyway, I've had a lot of really wild and crazy experiences. But one of these experiences was prompted by my family, by my mother, who I actually did a long video about yesterday. But this is just one example because, you can't fit everything into one video as far as what I was talking about yesterday. So I wanted to give this story time because it's really quite humorous, right? Now, when I moved to Mexico initially, it was in 2019. I had done an art program with the Tulum Art Club. A really wonderful experience for me just to be in Tulum, just to focus on art and culture because the focus was El Dia de los Muertos. So it was right before this time of year. It was only 3 weeks long, so I still hung out in Tulum because my visa was for 6 months, right? So basically, I didn't want to return to America, and I settled in. Everything was much cheaper, yet much more luxurious. I didn't see any reason to return. So I was hanging out, and at that time, I was still talking to my mother. She started pushing that it was very dangerous for me to be in Mexico, which was really ridiculous because where I lived was much nicer than Compton, where she lives, in Los Angeles, right? And I was actually warning my entire family that they should start looking for options because it was going to start getting really crazy in California. So she kept badgering me, telling me that it was irresponsible of me to be in Mexico, the cartel and all these different things, getting kidnapped. She kept pushing I was going to get kidnapped. And I thought it was really crazy. I was like, she really needs to get more exposed to the outside world because, watching television is going to, make her crazy, But I didn't know that there was actually an agenda to this story that she kept regurgitating to me and to everyone else in my family, trying to characterize me as being irresponsible by being in Mexico. So the pandemic started, and it ended up being a blessing because I didn't have to leave Mexico, right? And Tulum happened to be one of the freest, funnest places to be for a couple extra months. Everyone else had been shut down a lot earlier than we had been in Tulum. So, we were partying, all kinds of stuff. I had gotten a job on the beach, showing art and having a grand old time until they locked things down. When they locked things down, I ran into the jungle, into the Mayan jungle, to a place called Dos Ojos, which is right outside of Tulum, and it's very well known for the cenotes, which are the caves with water that are paradise, right? So I was very blessed to know a shaman who had his own piece of land, had his own cenote, and every day that's where I was hanging out, and everything was not, I was going to work with him on the land, and he also had a school. So I was going to teach there, but everything was shut down. So I was relaxing. I stayed there for a couple months. Then I went to another place for 2 months. What was it called? I'll come up with that later. Anyway, I had the opportunity. I went to Valladolid. So when I was in Valladolid, I had been there for a short amount of time before El Dia de los Muertos came around again. by that time, I was settled in. I had my own place. And I had organized Zoom meetings with my family every month, because normally anyway, our family never would communicate. So it was something, since I was away from the family and I'm the oldest, I'm an organizer. I enjoyed organizing that so we could celebrate each other's birthdays and all that kind of stuff. So we had been doing that for months, all throughout the time that I was in Dos Ojos, in Shemuyil. That's the other place, Shemuyil, inside of the jungle. I stayed there for 2 months, and both when I was in Dos Ojos and Shemuyil, it was like me on the land, no one else. Okay, the owner was there, the shaman was there on the first place, and he had built an actual pyramid on that land. So it was like a book. And then when I went to Shemuyil, a friend who I won't go into the story with her, but she went to Germany, and I went and I stayed in her place, and I had not planned for it, but she left her dogs, and I ended up keeping her dogs. So she should have paid me. But anyway, it was just me and the dogs on this land in the jungle. So, very serious retreat time for me, pretty much all of 2020. So again, fast forward to Valladolid, and there's a whole story about how I got there, but I'm not going to tell that right now. I was in Valladolid, had my friends, and one day I went on a bike ride with my friends, who one of them is like a bike rider. Like, she rides every day and she competes and all this and that. So they gave me a bike to ride, and we went on this long bike ride. On the way home, I started noticing that my phone was ringing, but I had, maybe like an hour before I was going to get home, so I didn't answer. I was just, headed home. When I got home, I realized that my mother had been the one who was calling. And while I was sitting there about to respond or whatever, she had texted to the family group that I had been kidnapped in Mexico, right? And I'm like, immediately, as soon as she texted, I text back to the whole group. I'm like, no, I'm not kidnapped. I was just on a bike ride, and I'm here. I'm safe. I'm fine, right? And she didn't respond back. So everyone else in the family was responding back. Basically, people were like laughing, like, what, because I was like, no, I'm here. And I was trying to call her, and then she wouldn't answer the phone. So hours went by when she didn't answer the phone, until she ended up saying that she had paid a ransom for me for $1,000. She had sent it through like Walmart or something to some people in Mexico City, which didn't make any sense, because why would you stop checking your phone after, you're looking for me and I'm trying to contact you back, and now you've already gone on and done that? That makes no sense. Like, she's acting like she couldn't answer the phone because she was rushing to pay them, but it took her hours. So it was very strange, right? So I was just like, this makes no sense. Instead of listening to me, she made it like, this is your fault for being in Mexico. I told you it was dangerous anyway, blah, blah. And I'm like, it makes no sense. So basically, the whole family stopped talking to me after that, because she had projected that I had been irresponsible by living in Mexico, and I created this fake story about, I was the cause of this whole fake scenario that she created. And who pays $1,000 for a ransom? And why would she pay it to people in Mexico City when I live on the other side of Mexico? Like, all of it didn't make any sense to me. So when we were actually able to talk, like, I asked her questions like, why didn't you ask to talk to me to make sure it was me? Do you not know she said that someone was screaming in the background, and so she thought it was me. She said they were speaking in Spanish, but somehow they were able to communicate exactly what they wanted and all the information that she needed to send everything to. So anyway, I demanded that she give me the information of the investigators, the police that she contacted. She refused to give me any police report around it. She couldn't answer any of the questions, that made any sense. And so that was basically how that situation was left. And my family went along with it. And that was it. It was like I was painted as a villain when it was a completely made up story. So what I wonder is, how was that used? Legally, I'm sure she did something with that fake story to make it seem like I'm irresponsible, to create the story that she was a victim and I'm causing her to lose money, along with the fact that it basically ended the communications that had been going very well for me for the past year with my siblings. And this is just one small example of the kind of really crazy, nutty, yet very manipulative and deceitful kinds of plan, a maniacal plan, right? It's a maniacal plan, like a plan of a maniac. And yet and still I know that even though it made no sense, that somehow it was able to support her in stating, some kind of claim, or, building some kind of a case against me, some kind of argument that was used with people that she's connected to. Like, nobody in their right sense would believe any of that, but people who just needed a story in order to use it against me so she could justify the secret things the things that she thinks are secret, the things that she's been doing against me to steal my money. You know what I'm saying? So these are the things. There's so many different stories, and I'm just now figuring that I should go ahead and start documenting them, because they're worth documenting. They're very serious incidents in my life that have altered my life and my relationships. And, the perception that there has been around me, when in reality, it's really crazy. The people who are saying these things are the ones who need mental evaluation, not me, because I've been living very peacefully. I've never been kidnapped. Nothing even close to that has ever happened to me. In fact, the reason why I'm in Mexico is because I feel safer than I've ever felt in any other country that I've been in. So, well, Guatemala, I felt very safe too. But Mexico has been great, and I'm very thankful. So that is my little story time. Yes, it's 100% true. My mother lied and said I was kidnapped when I was not. And this happened, I'm guessing, in about November of 2020. Or it was either right before or right after Halloween, because I remember that we rode our bikes past like little altars that they had on the side of the road that were for the ancestors, and it was for El Dia de los Muertos. So that's how I remember it. I actually have pictures of that night, so I can look on my phone and see what night that was. But yes, that's my story. Very cray-cray, but true. So I might do some more stories. I have lots and lots of stories. I guess I don't really have the patience to go through too many at one time, because I skipped through stories to get to that story related to my time in Tulum, my time in Dos Ojos, my time in Shemuel, moving to Valladolid, and all of that. So at some point, I'll probably get to all of those. But thank you, Kaleidoscope Klan, for being a witness to my life and to my story. My name is Mariposa Ma'at. Until next time, continue to embody the sacred transformation. Peace. So I actually just checked my records in my Google Photos, and it was October 25th. That was the actual night that the supposed kidnapping and taking me hostage took place. So just for documentation.